The stars looked peaceful from the bridge of the USS Endeavour. Captain Alex Morrison stood watching them through the big window, his hands behind his back. The ship moved quietly through space, its engines making only a soft hum. It was 2387, and the galaxy had been at peace for a very long time. Dr. Lisa Chang walked up next to him, holding a data pad in her hands. She had been studying the reports from the outer colonies all morning. Her dark hair was pulled back and she looked tired but happy. "The new trade agreements are working well," she said. "The colonies are growing fast." Alex nodded. The human colonies were doing better than ever. They traded with dozens of alien species, shared technology, and helped keep peace in their part of the galaxy. Humans had joined the Galactic Federation 200 years ago, and most people thought they were among the most peaceful species in known space. First Officer Jake Palmer came onto the bridge, carrying a cup of coffee. He was young for his rank, but smart and good with people. "Sir, we got a message from Federation Command," he said. "They want us to go to Kepler Station. There's some kind of meeting happening." Alex took the message from Jake and read it. The Federation Council was holding emergency talks about the new species that had just joined. The Zephyrians were an old race of reptile-like beings who had kept to themselves for hundreds of years. Now they wanted to be part of the Federation, but some people were worried about them. "What do we know about these Zephyrians?" Alex asked Lisa. Lisa touched her datapad and brought up information. "They're very advanced," she said. "They have technology that's better than most species. They live on hot worlds with thick air. They're proud and think they're better than other species. Their leader is called Emperor Vextalon." Jake sat down at his station. "I heard they don't like taking orders from anyone," he said. "Makes you wonder why they want to join the Federation now." The ship turned toward Kepler Station. It would take them 3 days to get there. Alex spent the time reading everything he could about the Zephyrians. They had a big empire with many worlds. Their ships were fast and strong. They had weapons that could destroy planets. But they had always stayed in their own part of space, never bothering other species. When the Endeavour reached Kepler Station, Alex could see many ships there. Federation vessels from dozens of worlds floated around the big space station. The station itself looked like a giant wheel spinning slowly in space. Lights blinked along its sides and small ships moved in and out of its docking bays. Alex, Lisa, and Jake took a shuttle to the station. Inside, the halls were full of beings from many worlds. Tall blue Altarians walked next to short, fuzzy Valdorians. Crystal beings from Etheria glowed softly as they moved. Alex had always liked how different species could work together in the Federation. They found the meeting room where Ambassador Helen Brooks was talking with other Federation leaders. Helen was in her 50s with gray hair and kind eyes. She had been working for peace between species for 20 years. "Alex, good to see you," Helen said when she saw them. "We need all the help we can get with this situation." "What's happening?" Alex asked. Helen looked worried. "The Zephyrians are making demands," she said. "They say they have old claims to many star systems. Some of those systems have human colonies now. They want the colonies to pay them tribute." Lisa frowned. "Tribute for what?" "For being allowed to live on what they call their ancient territory," Helen said. "Emperor Vextalon says his people owned those systems long before humans ever left Earth." Jake shook his head. "That doesn't sound right. Those colonies have been there for 50 years. The Federation gave humans permission to settle there." Helen nodded. "That's what I told them. But the Zephyrians don't seem to care what the Federation says. They think they're above our laws." Over the next 2 days, Alex watched the talks. The Zephyrians sent Ambassador Vextalar to speak for them. He was tall and covered in green scales. His eyes were yellow and cold. When he spoke, his voice was deep and harsh. "My people are ancient," Vextalar said during one meeting. "We ruled the stars when your species were still crawling in mud. We have the right to take back what is ours." The other ambassadors tried to find ways to make peace. They offered the Zephyrians other territory. They offered trade deals and technology sharing. But Vextalar said no to everything. "We do not bargain with lesser species," he said. "We take what belongs to us." Alex felt something cold in his stomach when he heard those words. He had been in space for 15 years and had never heard any species talk like that about humans. On the third day, bad news came. Captain Ben Torres of the USS Liberty arrived at the station. His face was grim when he met with Alex and the other captains. 3 colonies in the Vega system stopped talking to us, Ben said. All communication cut off 6 hours ago. Long-range scans show no ships, no signals, nothing. Alex felt his hands get cold. How many people live in those colonies? About 2 million, Ben said quietly. Families, children, old people, normal colonists just trying to make a living. Helen tried to contact the Zephyrian embassy, but they wouldn't answer. The Zephyrian ships around Kepler Station started moving away, heading back toward their own space. Lisa ran scans on the departing ships. Their energy readings are strange, she said. It looks like they've been running their weapon systems. Alex stared out at the stars again. Something terrible had happened, he could feel it. The peaceful galaxy he had known all his life suddenly felt very different. The Zephyrians had made their choice, and now humans would have to make theirs. Admiral, Kate Sullivan's voice came over the station's communication system. All Federation vessels prepare for immediate departure. We're going to the Vega system to find out what happened to our colonies. As Alex walked back to his shuttle, he thought about the families on those colonies. Good people who had left Earth to build new lives among the stars. People who trusted the Federation to keep them safe. The shuttle lifted off from Kepler Station and headed back to the Endeavor. Through the small window, Alex could see the last Zephyrian ships disappearing into hyperspace. Something told him this was just the beginning. The fleet moved through hyperspace like angry ghosts. Admiral Kate Sullivan had put together the largest task force in Federation history. 50 ships from 12 different species, all heading toward the Vega system to find out what happened to the human colonies. Captain Alex Morrison stood on the bridge of the Endeavor, watching the swirling colors of hyperspace through the main screen. Next to him, Captain Ben Torres appeared as a hologram, his image coming from the USS Liberty. Both men looked worried. We should be there in 6 hours, Ben said. I've been trying to think of good reasons why 3 colonies would go silent at the same time. Dr. Lisa Chang looked up from her station. Maybe their communication arrays were damaged by solar storms, she said, but her voice didn't sound like she believed it. Alex shook his head. 3 different colonies on 3 different planets all at the same time? That's not weather, Lisa. First Officer Jake Palmer was running system checks on all their sensors. The Federation had given them permission to use military-grade equipment for this mission. All scanners are ready, sir, he said. If there's anything to find, we'll find it. Security Chief Ryan Murphy came onto the bridge carrying a data pad. Ryan was a big man with short red hair and careful eyes. He had been a Federation security officer for 10 years before joining the Endeavor's crew. I've been looking at the timeline, Ryan said. The colonies stopped sending signals within 30 minutes of each other. New Geneva went first, then New Seattle, then New Boston. That's not random. Admiral Sullivan's voice came through the communication system. All ships prepare to drop out of hyperspace in 60 seconds. Weapons powered but not armed. We don't know what we're going to find. The stars appeared suddenly as the fleet dropped back into normal space. The Vega system looked normal from far away. The star burned bright and steady. The planets moved in their usual paths. But something was wrong. Alex could feel it. I'm not getting any signals from the colonies, Jake said, his fingers moving fast over his controls. No radio, no subspace, nothing. Lisa was running deep scans of the 3 planets. Her face went pale as the results came in. Alex, you need to see this, she said quietly. The main screen changed to show New Geneva, the largest colony. Where a city of 800,000 people should have been, there was only empty ground. The buildings were gone. The streets were gone. Even the trees were gone. Switch to New Seattle, Alex said, his voice barely above a whisper. The same thing. Empty ground where 600,000 people had lived and worked. No signs that anyone had ever been there. New Boston, Alex said. Again, nothing. 500,000 people vanished. Ben's hologram flickered as his ship moved closer. My science team is saying the ground on all 3 planets has been heated to over 3,000 degrees, he said. Everything organic was burned away completely. Admiral Sullivan's ship, the USS Nemesis, took the lead as the fleet moved toward the planets. She was a tough woman in her 60s who had been fighting pirates and smugglers for 30 years. Her voice was steady when she spoke to all the ships. Landing parties will go to all 3 colonies. Full protective gear. Document everything. Find out what happened here. Alex took a shuttle down to New Geneva with Lisa, Ryan, and a team of scientists. The planet's air was still hot and full of ash. They had to wear special suits to breathe. Where the colony's main street had been, there was now smooth glass. The heat had melted sand and rock into a flat, shiny surface that went on for miles. In the distance, twisted metal showed where buildings had once stood. This wasn't an accident, Ryan said, kneeling down to examine the glass. Look at the pattern. The heat came from above, moving in straight lines. This was done by ships. Lisa was taking samples of the glass and ash. Her hands were shaking inside her gloves. The temperature needed to do this. It would take weapons designed to destroy planets. They walked to where the colony's school had been. Alex remembered visiting here 2 years ago for a Federation ceremony. Children had sung songs and given him flowers. Now there was only glass and silence. Ryan found something in the ash. "Captain, you should see this," he called. It was a piece of metal, twisted and burned but still recognizable, part of a child's toy spaceship, the kind kids played with all over human space. Alex picked it up with shaking hands. Somewhere under all this glass and ash were the remains of 2 million people, families who had come here to build a new life, children who would never grow up, old people who had moved here to spend their last years in peace. "Sir," Jake's voice came through the communicator. "We're getting readings from orbit. There's debris up there." Back on the Endeavour, Jake showed them what the sensors had found. Pieces of metal and plastic floating in space above each planet. The remains of the colony's orbital stations and defense platforms. The stations were destroyed first, Jake said. Then the ground installations were targeted. Someone wanted to make sure nobody could call for help or fight back. Lisa analyzed the debris. "I'm finding energy traces that don't match any Federation weapons," she said. "The signature is new, but there's something familiar about it." Ryan was studying the attack patterns. "Whoever did this knew exactly where to hit," he said. "They took out communications first, then defenses, then everything else. This was planned." Admiral Sullivan called all the captains for a meeting on her ship. The Nemesis was a big warship, built for fighting pirates and protecting Federation space. In the main conference room, officers from 12 different species sat around a long table. "This was genocide," Admiral Sullivan said simply. "Someone wanted to kill every human in the system, and they did it?" Captain Torres nodded grimly. "My team found traces of biological weapons on New Seattle, something designed to target human DNA specifically." A cold silence filled the room. Biological weapons were banned by every civilized species in the galaxy. Using them meant you wanted to kill not just soldiers, but everyone. Men, women, children, babies. Dr. Chang spoke up from her chair. "The energy signatures from the orbital attacks. I've been comparing them to our database. They match Zephyrian weapon systems." The alien officers around the table looked shocked. Ambassador Trendar from the Altarian Union, a tall blue being, with 4 arms, shook his head slowly. "The Zephyrians wouldn't do this," Trendar said. "They're proud, yes, but they're not monsters." Ryan pulled up his analysis on the main screen. The attack ships came from the direction of Zephyrian space. The timing matches when their ships left Kepler Station. And we found something else. The screen showed a piece of debris, part of a Zephyrian ship's hull. This was floating near New Boston. Looks like one of our defense platforms got a hit in before it was destroyed. Admiral Sullivan stood up. "I'm sending this evidence to Federation Command and to Earth. The colonies weren't just attacked. They were harvested." "Harvested?" asked Captain Torres. Lisa nodded sadly. "Some of the biological readings suggest people were taken alive before the planets were sterilized. The Zephyrians didn't just kill our people, they studied them first. Alex felt something dark and cold growing in his chest. He thought about the children's playground he had seen turned to glass. He thought about families torn apart, people taken from their homes to be used in experiments. What happens now, he asked. Admiral Sullivan's eyes were hard as steel. Now we go home and report what we found. Then we wait to see what Earth decides to do about it. The fleet left the Vega system in silence. Behind them, 3 dead worlds spun slowly around their star, holding the ashes of 2 million human beings. In the ships heading back to Federation space, officers from many species tried to understand what they had seen, but in the human ships, the crews weren't trying to understand. They were trying to control their anger. The emergency meeting on Earth began at sunrise. President Maria Rodriguez sat at the head of a long table in a room deep under the capital city. Around the table were the most powerful humans in the galaxy, people who made decisions that affected billions of lives. General Peter Hayes was there, a man in his 70s with gray hair and sharp eyes. He had been protecting human colonies for 40 years. Dr. Elena Martinez sat across from him, a woman who studied alien species for the Colonial Research Division. Admiral Sullivan appeared on a large screen, her image coming from her ship as it traveled back to Earth. Captain Morrison and the other officers who had seen the destroyed colonies were with her. President Rodriguez looked at the faces around the table. These people had spent their lives building peace between species. Today they were going to talk about war. "Show me what you found," the president said quietly. The room's screens filled with pictures from the Vega system. Empty ground where cities had been, glass where homes had stood, twisted metal where children had played. Everyone in the room had seen these images already, but seeing them again made their anger burn hotter. Dr. Martinez spoke first. "The biological weapons were designed specifically for humans," she said. "The Zephyrians studied our DNA and created something that would only kill us. This wasn't a random attack. They planned this for months, maybe years." General Hayes pulled up military reports on his datapad. "Our colony defense forces never had a chance," he said. "The Zephyrians hit them with weapons we've never seen before, planet-killing weapons." President Rodriguez had been thinking about this moment for 20 years. Every human leader had to think about it. What would they do if another species tried to wipe out humanity? "How many people know about Protocol Omega?" she asked. General Hayes looked around the room. "Everyone here, plus about 50 other officers. We've kept it secret for 400 years. Dr. Martinez nodded. "Since first contact, we've been preparing for this possibility. Every species we've met, every world we've visited, we've studied them. We know how to kill them all." Captain Morrison's image on the screen looked confused. "What's Protocol Omega?" General Hayes stood up and walked to a wall panel. He put his hand on a scanner and the wall opened. Behind it was a room filled with computers and data storage devices. "When humans first went to the stars, we made a promise to ourselves," General Hayes said. "We would be peaceful and friendly with alien species. But if any species ever tried to destroy humanity, we would make sure they regretted it." The computers in the hidden room came to life. Screens showed star maps, ship designs, and biological data on hundreds of alien species. This was humanity's greatest secret, a complete plan for how to fight and win a war against any species in the galaxy. Dr. Martinez walked into the room and touched one of the computers. "We've been studying alien biology for centuries," she said. "Every species has weaknesses. The Altarians can't live without their symbiotic bacteria. The Valdorians' nervous systems shut down if you block certain chemicals. The Etherians need specific energy frequencies to maintain their crystal structure." "And the Zephyrians?" President Rodriguez asked. Dr. Martinez pulled up a detailed biological scan of Zephyrian physiology. "Their brains work differently from most species. They use a unique combination of chemicals to think and remember. If you stop those chemicals from working, they die instantly. No pain, no struggle. They just stop existing." General Hayes showed them weapon designs that didn't exist anywhere else in the galaxy. nanite swarms that could eat through alien ship hulls, quantum bombs that could crack planets, biological agents designed to target specific alien DNA. We've been building these weapons in secret facilities throughout human space, he said. Hidden bases that the Federation doesn't know about, ships that are disguised as cargo haulers, but carry enough firepower to destroy fleets. President Rodriguez looked at the faces on the screen. Captain Morrison and his crew looked shocked. They had spent their lives believing humanity was a peaceful species that preferred diplomacy to violence. Every human colony has been a military base, General Hayes continued. Every trade ship has been a warship. Every diplomat has been a spy. We've been preparing for this war for 400 years. Dr. Martinez brought up files on Zephyrian society. We know everything about them, she said. Where they live, how they think, what they value. We know about their families, their culture, their history, and we know exactly how to destroy all of it. Admiral Sullivan's voice came from the screen. What are your orders, Madam President? President Rodriguez stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see the city where she had grown up. Normal people living normal lives, not knowing that their government had been preparing for interstellar war since before they were born. The Zephyrians made their choice when they killed our people, she said. Now we make ours. She turned back to face the room. Activate Protocol Omega. Full deployment. General Hayes nodded. It will take 48 hours to get all our ships in position. The Zephyrians won't know what hit them. I want every Zephyrian facility, every ship, every colony targeted simultaneously, President Rodriguez said. When we strike everywhere at once. Dr. Martinez was already working on her computers. I'll have the biological weapons ready in 24 hours. Once we deploy them, every Zephyrian in the galaxy will be dead within 72 hours. Captain Morrison's image looked troubled. Madam President, what about diplomacy? What if they want to surrender? President Rodriguez looked at him with cold eyes. Captain, did the children in those colonies get a chance to surrender? Did the families on New Geneva get to negotiate for their lives? She walked back to the table and sat down. The Federation Council will try to stop us. They'll say we're being too harsh, that we should give the Zephyrians a chance to make amends. General, Hayes smiled grimly. Let them try. Half the species in the Federation are pacifists who haven't fought a real war in centuries. The other half depend on us for protection. None of them can stop us. What about the Altarians and the Etherians? Admiral Sullivan asked. They have powerful fleets. Dr. Martinez looked up from her computers. The Altarians' ships depend on biological computers that we can shut down with engineered viruses. The Etherians' crystal technology stops working if you hit it with the right frequency of radiation. If any species tries to protect the Zephyrians, we can deal with them too. President Rodriguez stood up again. I want this to be clean and complete. No survivors, no exceptions. When we're done, the Zephyrian species will be extinct. Every trace of their civilization will be gone. And after that? Captain Morrison asked. President Rodriguez looked at all the faces around the table and on the screen. After that, the galaxy will know that humans are not the peaceful species they thought we were. We're predators, and we've been pretending to be prey. General Hayes was already sending coded messages to secret military bases throughout human base. Ships that had been disguised as freighters were powering up weapon systems. Soldiers who had been living as colonists were putting on battle armor. Dr. Martinez finished her calculations. The biological weapon is ready for deployment. Once we release it into Zephyrian space, their entire species will be dead in less than 3 days. President Rodriguez looked out the window one more time. The last species that chose to anger humans was wiped out, she said quietly. The Zephyrians just volunteered to be the next one. Throughout human space, hidden bases came alive with activity. The galaxy's most peaceful species was about to show everyone what humans were really capable of when pushed too far. The war that would end the Zephyrian species had begun. The human retribution fleet appeared at the edge of Zephyrian space like death itself. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the USS Nemesis, watching as 300 human warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. These were not the exploration vessels and colony ships the galaxy knew. These were weapons of war, built in secret over 4 centuries. Ships designed for one purpose only: to end species that threatened humanity. Captain Alex Morrison commanded one of the attack wings, his ship now armed with weapons that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. Dr. Lisa Chang worked at a new station, her peaceful research equipment replaced with targeting systems for biological warfare. "All ships report ready," First Officer Jake Palmer said from his position. The young officer had changed in the weeks since seeing the destroyed colonies. His friendly smile was gone, replaced by cold determination. Security Chief Ryan Murphy stood at the tactical station, his hands moving over controls for weapons the Federation had never seen. "Nanite swarms are prepared for deployment," he said. "Quantum torpedoes are loaded and ready." Admiral Sullivan's voice reached every ship in the fleet. "Today we teach the galaxy why humans survived on a death world. Today we show them what happens when you kill our children." The first target was Vextar Prime, the Zephyrian homeworld. It was a fortress planet protected by orbital defense platforms that had never been breached in 1,000 years. The Zephyrians had built their entire military philosophy around the idea that their homeworld was impossible to attack. They were wrong. Captain Morrison led his wing toward the planet's defenses. The Zephyrian platforms opened fire with energy beams that could destroy normal ships in seconds. But human ships weren't normal anymore. "Deploy nanite swarms," Morrison ordered. Millions of microscopic robots poured out of the human ships like metallic clouds. The nanites had been programmed with one simple instruction: find Zephyrian technology and tear it apart at the molecular level. The orbital platforms started failing within minutes. Their weapons went silent as the nanites ate through their power systems. Their shields collapsed as the tiny robots dismantled the generators. Soon the mighty fortress of Vextar Prime was defenseless. Dr. Chang worked at her station, her fingers dancing over controls for biological warfare systems. "Atmospheric deployment ready," she said. "The agent will spread across the entire planet in 6 hours." Morrison gave the order. Biological weapons designed specifically to target Zephyrian brain chemistry fell toward the planet like invisible rain. There would be no explosions, no fires, no screaming. The Zephyrians would simply stop existing as their unique nervous systems shut down. On the planet's surface, Emperor Vex Tulan realized what was happening. The proud ruler who had ordered the massacre of human colonies tried to contact the human fleet. His image appeared on the main screen of the Nemesis. "I wish to negotiate," the Emperor said, his reptilian features showing fear for the first time in his life. "We can reach an agreement. We have technology, resources, anything you want." Admiral Sullivan looked at the alien leader with cold eyes. "You killed 2 million of our people," she said. "Men, women, children, babies. You harvested them like animals." "It was a mistake," Emperor Vextulan said desperately. "We can make amends. We can pay compensation." "The time for negotiation ended when you murdered our children," Admiral Sullivan replied. "You wanted to show us that humans are weak. Now we'll show the galaxy what humans really are." She cut the communication. On the planet below, the biological agent was already spreading through the atmosphere. Zephyrians everywhere began to collapse, as their brains simply stopped working. There was no pain, no struggle. They just ceased to exist. But the humans weren't finished with just the homeworld. Throughout Zephyrian space, human ships appeared at every colony, every outpost, every military base. The attack was coordinated and complete. Captain Ben Torres led a fleet to the industrial worlds where Zephyrians built their ships. The planets had millions of workers and their families. Torres felt no mercy as he watched the biological weapons do their work. First Officer Jake Palmer commanded a strike team that hit Zephyrian research stations. These were the places where human prisoners had been taken for experimentation. Jake made sure every computer system was destroyed, so no trace of their research would survive. Dr. Elena Martinez coordinated the biological warfare from Earth. She watched as her weapons spread through every Zephyrian world, every ship, every station. The species that had thought they were superior to humans was dying faster than they could understand what was happening. The Federation Council tried to intervene. Ambassador Trendar of the Altarian Union sent messages begging the humans to stop. The crystalline Etherians offered to mediate peace talks. The peaceful Valdorians pleaded for mercy. Admiral Sullivan's response was broadcast to every species in the galaxy. The Zephyrians chose genocide. Now they face extinction. Any species that tries to interfere will join them. Some alien leaders thought she was bluffing. The Chronorians, a warlike species that had always looked down on humans, sent a fleet to protect a Zephyrian colony world. Dr. Martinez activated a computer virus she had prepared years earlier. The Chronorian ships lost power within seconds as their biological computer systems died. Helpless and drifting in space, they could only watch as human ships destroyed the colony they had tried to protect. The message was clear. Humans had been studying alien weaknesses for centuries. Any species could be defeated as easily as the Zephyrians. On Vextar Prime, the last Zephyrian died 72 hours after the biological weapons were deployed. Emperor Vextulan collapsed in his throne room, his mind simply switching off like a machine that had lost power. But the humans weren't satisfied with just killing the Zephyrians. They wanted to erase them completely. Captain Morrison led teams that landed on every Zephyrian world. They destroyed museums, libraries, art galleries, anything that showed Zephyrian culture had ever existed. The species' history was wiped from every computer, every book, every monument. Ryan Murphy supervised the destruction of Zephyrian cities. Buildings that had stood for thousands of years were reduced to dust. Parks where Zephyrian children had played were turned into empty fields. Even grave sites were erased so no trace of the dead would remain. Within 6 months, it was as if the Zephyrian species had never existed. Their worlds were empty and silent. Their ships drifted abandoned in space. Their name was removed from every database, every historical record, every star chart. The galaxy watched in horror as humans demonstrated what total war really meant. Species that had thought they understood conflict realized they knew nothing about the humans' capacity for systematic destruction. Dr. Chang published detailed reports on how the extinction had been carried out. She included biological data on how to destroy every known alien species, technical specifications for planet-killing weapons, and tactical plans for wiping out entire civilizations. "This is not a threat," she wrote in her report. "This is a manual. Any species that chooses to fight humanity should understand exactly what will happen to them." Admiral Sullivan addressed the Federation Council one final time. "The Zephyrian species is extinct," she said. "Every individual, every trace of their culture, every memory of their existence has been removed from the galaxy." She looked at the alien ambassadors who stared back in fear. "Let this be a lesson. Humans are not cruel, but we are absolute. Cross us, and you will not face conquest or defeat. You will face complete extinction." The last species to anger humans was gone forever. 1 year after the Zephyrian extinction, the galaxy was a very different place. The Federation Council met in emergency session for the 100th time since the human war machine had revealed itself to the universe. Ambassador Trendar of the Altarian Union stood before representatives of 800 species, his blue skin pale with fear. "We must discuss the human question," he said, his forearms shaking slightly. "They have become too powerful." Around the great council chamber, alien beings who had once considered themselves equals to humanity now whispered in frightened voices. The proud Chronorians sat in silence, their warlike culture humbled by the memory of their ships floating, helpless in space. The ancient Etherians, beings of pure crystal who had watched civilizations rise and fall for millions of years, spoke in hushed tones about the new apex predators. On Earth, President Maria Rodriguez walked through the memorial, gardens that had been built where the old Federation embassy used to stand. Each garden represented one of the destroyed colonies, and at the center stood a monument to the 2 million humans who had died in the Vega system. Children from all over human space came here to learn about their history. Today, A group of young students listened as their teacher explained what had happened to the Zephyrians. They thought humans were weak, the teacher said. They thought we would accept their attacks and do nothing. They were wrong. A small girl raised her hand. What happened to them? They don't exist anymore, the teacher replied simply. When someone hurts human children, there are consequences. General Peter Hayes stood watching from nearby. The old soldier had seen many wars, but nothing like the systematic extinction of an entire species. The efficiency of it still amazed him. Dr. Elena Martinez joined him carrying a datapad with reports from around the galaxy. The Valdorians just sent another tribute ship, she said. Rare metals and technology just like the others. How many species have offered tribute now? General Hayes asked. 237, Elena replied. They're calling it friendship gifts, but we all know what it really is. The truth was that most alien species were now terrified of humanity. The beings who had once seemed so peaceful and diplomatic had revealed themselves to be the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. Species that had existed for millions of years suddenly felt like prey animals hiding from hunters. Captain Alex Morrison, now promoted to admiral, commanded the new human hegemony fleet from his flagship. The term Federation was still used officially, but everyone knew who really ran things now. Dr. Lisa Chang had become the director of xenobiological research, her department now the most feared organization in known space. Her detailed studies of alien weaknesses were distributed freely to every government in the galaxy, a constant reminder that humans could destroy any species whenever they chose. Sir, we're getting another request for protection, First Officer Jake Palmer said from his station. The Centaurian Empire wanted human ships to guard their trade routes from pirates. Morrison nodded. Send the usual response. We'll provide protection in exchange for full access to their technology and military bases. It was always the same deal. Aliens could have human protection, but they had to give humans complete access to everything they had. Their science, their weapons, their military secrets, even their biological data. Within a year, humans knew more about alien species than they knew about themselves. Security Chief Ryan Murphy had been promoted to head of Human Intelligence Services. His agents were scattered throughout the galaxy, watching alien governments and reporting any signs of potential threats to humanity. The Altarians are talking about forming an alliance against us, Ryan reported during a morning briefing. Nothing serious yet, just scared politicians making noise. Admiral Morrison looked at the intelligence reports. What's their biggest weakness again? Symbiotic bacteria, Ryan replied. We could engineer a virus that would kill their bacterial partners. They'd all die within days. Morrison made a note in his files. Make sure they know we know. Sometimes the threat is more effective than action. Throughout the galaxy, alien civilizations struggled to adapt to their new reality. The humans weren't cruel masters who demanded worship or submission. They simply made it clear that they could end any species that annoyed them, and then went about their business. Trade flourished under human protection. Pirates and raiders found themselves facing human warships that could destroy entire fleets without breaking formation. Peaceful species thrived under the security that human power provided. But everyone understood the price of that protection. Cross humanity and your species would vanish from the universe as completely as if it had never existed. The Federation Council finally passed Resolution 2387 Alpha, formally acknowledging human supremacy in galactic affairs. The vote was unanimous, though many species voted with tears in their eyes. President Rodriguez addressed the galaxy from Earth, her words broadcast to every world, every ship, every space station. Humanity seeks peace, she said. We want to trade with you, learn from you, and build a better future together. She paused and looked directly into the camera. But make no mistake, we are not the same species that joined the Federation too. Centuries ago, seeking friendship and cooperation, we are predators who chose to be peaceful. The Zephyrians reminded us what we really are. Some of you fear us now, she continued. That is wise. Fear keeps you careful, and careful species don't make the mistakes that lead to extinction. On the former Zephyrian homeworld of Vextar Prime, Human colonists were building new cities. The planet had been sterilized and terraformed to support human life. Children played in parks built over the ashes of an entire civilization. In the T, planet's main city, a museum had been constructed to tell the story of what happened when a species chose to anger humanity. Visitors from across the galaxy came to see the exhibits showing the complete destruction of the Zephyrians. The final display was a simple message carved in stone in 800 different alien languages. The last species to anger humans was wiped out. Choose wisely. Admiral Morrison visited the museum during a routine inspection of the colony. He stood before the memorial wall that listed the names of every human killed in the Vega system attacks. 2 million names, including entire families who had died. Together. Do you ever feel sorry for them? Dr. Chang asked, joining him at the wall. Morrison thought about the question. The Zephyrian children who died weren't responsible for what their leaders did, he said, but their leaders made a choice. They chose genocide. We just finished what they started. A young alien diplomat from the Valdorian Republic approached them nervously. She was part of a cultural exchange program, one of many efforts by alien species to better understand their new human overlords. "Excuse me," she said in careful English. "I wanted to ask about the human concept of mercy. My people are curious about whether humans still practice forgiveness." Admiral Morrison looked at the small, furry creature. "We do," he said. "But mercy is earned, not given. The Zephyrians never asked for mercy when they were killing our children. They only wanted to negotiate when we started killing theirs." The Valdorian diplomat nodded and hurried away to write her report. These reports were studied carefully by alien governments, trying to understand how to avoid humanity's wrath. As the sun set over Vextar Prime, Admiral Morrison watched human children playing in the streets where an alien civilization had once thrived. The galaxy was peaceful now, safer than it had ever been. Pirates feared human justice. Warlike species kept their aggression focused on each other rather than risk human attention. But it was the peace of predators at the top of the food chain, not the peace of equals working together. Dr. Chang published her final report on the Zephyrian extinction. The document was required reading in schools throughout human space and was translated into every known alien language. "The galaxy is safer now," she wrote, "not because evil has been defeated, but because everyone understands the price of crossing humanity. We are not monsters, but we are absolutely committed to our survival and the protection of our people." The Zephyrians taught us something important. Sometimes peace can only be maintained through the complete destruction of those who threaten it. Sometimes the only way to protect the innocent is to utterly eliminate the guilty. The report ended with a simple truth that every species in the galaxy now understood. The last species to anger humans was wiped out. There will always be room for one more. In the endless night of space, human ships patrolled between the stars, guardians of a peace built on the ashes of those foolish enough to test humanity's resolve. The galaxy was quiet now, and it would stay quiet as long as everyone remembered the lesson of the Zephyrians. Some prices once paid teach lessons that last forever.